an outrage. This is exactly what they do in communist countries. And the Democrats want to accuse us of book burning while we try to get pornography books out of our children's schools. The Democrats will do nothing to stop their attempts to destroy our nation's history.
You know why you don't hunt with an AR-15 with a deer? Because there's nothing left. And there's nothing left of these kids when people go into school and murder them while they're trying to read. You guys are worried about banning books. Dead kids can't read.
According to the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists and its over 57,000 members, abortion is an essential component of women's health care. Abortion is health care. When we criminalize, excuse me, Mr. Chair, I would like the ability to answer my question line. When we criminalize health care, undermine a patient's ability. Thank you very much.
Please, we'll have order.
So I want to talk about Arizona, but I think we need to go over some history first.
Are you a mother?
I am a mother by marriage.
By marriage, I see.
And my wife is here with me, so.
The problem is people like you need to admit that you're just a political activist, not a teacher, not a mother, and not a medical doctor. Point of personal privilege. You were mentioning my name, Mr. Raskin.
Yeah, no, I understand, but that's not the rule.
Hey, subscribe, please. Subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to get out the word, turn Texas blue, get rid of Ted Cruz, elect Colin Aldred, and for the love of all that is holy, get Joe Biden reelected. So please stop and subscribe real quick, but come back, because this one's good.
You think this is funny? Ms. Spitalnik, is this funny to you? Is babies being murdered in the womb funny to you? Because you're smirking and laughing at me right now.
What's not funny are the black people and Hispanic people and Jewish people and Muslim people who have been murdered in synagogue, in church, in supermarkets, in mosques by white supremacists.
Are you aware that all colored people are murdered? That is a fact. That every single color person has been murdered. That's not unusual. It's not just that people of color are murdered. White people are murdered too. Murder is not just for minorities. That may be a shock to you because you seem to dive deeply into all kinds of misinformation and seem to be uninformed yourself.
Years ago, before Arizona was Arizona, when it was just the New Mexico territory. In fact, let me fix that. I want to talk about the New Mexico territory.
I'll yield to anyone on this committee who disagrees that murder in schools is not murder. I yield.
Will you yield?
Oh, I'll yield. Yes, please.
You want to know why the shooter is dead?
In Nashville, the trans shooter, you want to know why? Because a good guy with a gun killed that woman. She identified as a man, she was mentally ill, probably taking hormones, and she went in and murdered children and adults in this Christian school in Nashville.
Because you guys made it easy for people who don't deserve to have weapons, who are mentally incapable of having weapons of war, being able to buy those weapons and go into schools. You know why you don't hunt with an AR-15 with a deer? Because there's nothing left. And there's nothing left of these kids when people go into school and murder them while they're trying to read. You guys are worried about banning books. Dead kids can't read.
Clearly, unfortunately, you think Ukraine comes before the United States. I'm not sure what the black flex is. I mean, is that digital blackface? But congratulations on graduating from school. But I'd like to go...
No, it is about honoring black education.
Ms. Weingarten, I reclaim my time. I didn't ask you a question.
My amendment uses the Holman Rule to reduce the salary of Secretary of Education Miguel Cardona to $1. Miguel Cardona is unfit to serve the American people as Secretary of Education. He is complicit in allowing biological men to compete against women, in labeling parents as domestic terrorists, and in implementing critical race ideology in schools. Secretary Miguel Cardona's actions are destroying our nation's school systems. He should be fired immediately, and I urge all of my colleagues to vote for this amendment, protect our kids. None of your advice had to do with to stop the spread of COVID-19. It was all about teachers staying home. And there was big results of that. Let me tell you, I am a mother, and all three of my children were directly affected by the school closures, by your recommendations, which is something that you really can't understand.
I just want to make note that the decorum of the attacks on the witness were unacceptable that the gentlelady from Georgia just did. And so it'd be nice if we didn't attack the witnesses, particularly and making a decision about whether or not she's a mother. You are a mother. Thank you for being a great parent. Thank you.
Given that his point of order is recognized, and given that that was not just cruel personal attacks to Ms. Weingarten, who loves her children, it is reflective of the cruel personal attacks to any adopted mother or father who love their children. So I would kindly ask that those remarks be taken out of the record, for the sake of all of the parents who have adopted a child and love them dearly and see them as their own.
It was lawlessness. So, they gave a man a task. I can't remember what his name was. Who gives a fuck?
The chair, if the gentlelady from Georgia wanted to follow evidence, we should also take a look at, hypothetically, a case where sex trafficking charges against a 17-year-old girl potentially...
The gentlelady's time's expired.
He was scum. He was tasked with writing the entire criminal code for the New Mexico territory. One of the things he wrote in there was the law that Arizona just went back to. The 1864 law that says no abortions.
There's been serious reports of changes in women's menstrual cycle and hemorrhages. Here's 2020. Again, that's the same year that emergency use was given for the COVID-19 vaccine. Reports of miscarriage. Ms. Williams, you were right again. Miscarriages increased drastically, but yet no one seems to want to listen to these women.
In that same law, the guy that wrote all of it wasn't ever voted on. It was just a task. He would write this code and it will be the law. And it was.
This is the Democrat and the Biden administration's effort to erase our history, just as they have done to the statue of Robert E. Lee.
This is an outrage. This is exactly what they do in communist countries. And the Democrats want to accuse us of book burning while we try to get pornography books out of our children's schools. The Democrats will do nothing to stop their attempts to destroy our nation's history.
Of course you could have no abortion. But did you know that you could also marry a 10-year-old girl?
Just to clear up a couple of things, my colleague mentioned the founding fathers. Robert E. Lee was not actually one of the founding fathers. He was a general of the Confederacy. That was the city of Charlottesville. That wasn't a national monument when that statue was removed. And I just have to say, I find it rich that the party that has supported book banning in our libraries, rewriting curriculum, not talking about our history over and over again, is the very one that is saying that we have to often keep painful monuments in places where they do damage, where they interfere with people's ability to enjoy the particular area that they're in, and leave it to the Department of Interior to have that discretion. So if we're going to get into talking about book banning and rewriting history, let's have an honest debate about it and talk about the differences between our two parties on this.
Who made you in charge of what is true and what's not true?
Hell, more than that. You could marry a 10-year-old girl and then force her to have a baby. Just like he did. Because the guy that wrote that had already kidnapped a 10-year-old Mexican girl and kept her forever as his little Mexican slave.
And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
I totally agree with you. There's a lot of white supremacists in the abortion movement.
And abortionists, because they have murdered over 20 million black babies in America since Roe versus Wade in 1973. That's on average 900 black babies are aborted. If you apparently care about human rights and you care about studying extremism, let's have a little talk about extremism, shall we? I think that's important because that's what this hearing is all about. I'd like to inform you, or maybe you don't know, maybe you do know, I doubt it, you mostly care about white supremacists and white-wing extremism. But there's quite a pattern of left-wing violent protests on college campuses today.
The statistics tell us that when it comes to politically motivated violence in 2022, every single murder was committed by a right-wing extremist.
Every single murder in America was committed by a right-wing extremist?
Every single politically motivated murder was committed by a right-wing extremist.
Are you sure about that?
I am.
Are you aware that the Tennessee shooter just recently identified as a man and she was a biological woman? Was she a right-wing extremist as well?
Young lady's time has expired. I'll allow the witness to answer the question.
So that was a shooting that happened in 2023. There is no evidence as to what ideology motivated that shooting. And what we do know is that cisgender males are responsible for the vast majority of mass shootings in this country.
I'm sorry, I don't know what a cisgender male is. There's only two genders. It's male and female. That would be, so no one knows what a cisgender male is. It's a made up.
Unfortunately, anti-trans invasion.
My amendment uses the Holman Rule to castrate the salary of Assistant Secretary of Health Richard Levine to $1, the same way he supports castrating children who suffer from gender dysphoria.
For our most vulnerable and innocent children, it is our job to protect our children from sexual groomers like Levine, and reducing his salary to $1 is a strong first step. Our mentally ill Assistant Secretary for Health is more concerned with woke gender and vaccine agendas than serving the everyday health needs of the American people. He deserves to be fired immediately. This man is a danger to all children and should not be serving in our government.
So next time you want to cite this 1864 law, it's because a guy wanted to bed down a 10-year-old girl, get her pregnant, and then keep his little señorita.
Don't have racism in America anymore, so just knock it off with the charges of racism.
How precisely is diversity our strength? Do you get along better with your neighbors or your coworkers if you can't understand each other or share no common values?
Fuck that guy and his fucking YouTube videos. Stop listening to a man who doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about, you idiots!
Grindr, an adult male gay hookup app.
Of course, as we all know, Republicans love a Lolita. Just ask Donald Trump.
And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
You know, speaking of crime, Republican on Republican crime. Former President Donald Trump held a rally in Waco, Texas with his Rasputin Ted Nugent. He said the number one national security threat to this great nation isn't Russia or China or DC crime, but is an 81-year-old slip and fall survivor in Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. I'm just wondering if, we're going to find time in between, some folks here attending the next rally to celebrating Timothy McVeigh, if we're going to find time to hold a hearing on mass murder in schools. When are we having that hearing? We want to talk about crime and murder. Let's have a hearing on murder in schools. It's murder.
I'm Zachariah, Lone Star Liberal. Y'all take it easy. Hey, before you go, please like and subscribe. It really, really helps me out. Every click may just save a life.
If you want to have a good talk about schools and protecting children, we need to talk about protecting our children the same way we protect our president, we protect our celebrities.
Almost a month ago, I stood in this very room detailing the dangers of the Arizona Supreme Court's decision to uphold the 1864 total abortion ban. In the weeks since, we've seen women and healthcare providers suffer from the chaos and confusion caused by this ruling. But as they have for 160 years, extreme politicians came up with every excuse imaginable to maintain this draconian ban. Before Arizona was even a state, a time when America was at war over the right to own slaves, a time before women could even vote. Today, we are doing what 23 governors and 55 legislatures refused to do, and I'm so proud to be the ones that got this job done.
See what those bullets do to children? You know why you don't hunt with an AR-15 with a deer? Because there's nothing left. And there's nothing left of these kids when people go into school and murder them while they're trying to read. You guys are worried about banning books. Dead kids can't read.
Let's investigate, we'll accelerate, I'm taking him down.